Have you ever actually wondered what happens under the hood when a computer is compromised? I mean, the exact split second a hacker gains access? Well, today we are completely breaking down the anatomy of a cyber attack. We're going to focus specifically on two notorious threats that exploit both system vulnerabilities and, frankly, simple human flaws: keyloggers and ransomware. Welcome to this explainer.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We're going to cover two invisible digital threats, peek inside the attacker's toolkit, break down the actual anatomy of an attack, learn how to spot these stealthy invaders, and finally, open up the defender's playbook. Sound good? Let's get into it.
All right, Section 1, two invisible digital threats. Because, to actually defend ourselves, we first need to define exactly what it is we're up against.
First up on the list, we have the keylogger. Now, this can be an actual piece of physical hardware, or more commonly these days, downloaded software. But the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that a keylogger acts as an invisible observer. It is quietly, persistently logging your entire digital life. It's capturing highly sensitive stuff. We're talking your passwords, your credit card numbers, private chats, all without you ever having a clue it's even there.
And building on that idea, we have ransomware. But unlike a keylogger, which is super stealthy and passive, ransomware is loud. It is incredibly destructive. It sneaks in, rapidly encrypts your most valuable files, or literally seizes total control of your computer and then holds it all hostage until you pay up. They usually demand a cryptocurrency payout just to give you your own data back.
Now, what is absolutely fascinating to me is how these threats have evolved over time. Get this, back in 1984, the Soviet Union actually bugged IBM Selectric typewriters at the US Embassy to track the physical movement of the levers. Crazy, right? Fast forward to today, and the whole landscape is dominated by sophisticated software like advanced Python scripts and ransomware as a service. Yes, malicious developers are quite literally renting out their cyber weapons to other criminals. It's wild.
Moving right along to Section 2, inside the attacker's toolkit, we're going to look at the actual programming libraries and APIs hackers are using to craft this stuff.
So let's look at the actual code structure. Here are some of the specific Python libraries used in these types of malware. You've got the OS library, which allows a script to rapidly traverse system directories just hunting for target files. Then there's cryptography.fernet, enabling symmetric encryption generation, basically building the lock. Penput is practically tailor-made for keyloggers because it allows complete monitoring and control of keyboard inputs. And WinRage, which manipulates the Windows registry so the malware persists, meaning it survives even if you reboot your machine. Now remember, these libraries are completely neutral tools. It's the attacker's intent that turns them into weapons.
And this brings us to a massive difference in how code is written: high-level versus low-level APIs. High-level APIs give you basic file encryption with built-in safety nets. But when coding complex ransomware, hackers often bypass those safety nets completely. They go for low-level APIs, literally called hazmat, or hazardous material in Python. This grants them absolute, dangerous control over the cryptographic internals. No safety nets, just surgical control, making the resulting ransomware incredibly tough to crack.
All right, Section 3, Anatomy of an Attack. So how do these tools actually breach a system and execute in the real world?
Here's the hard truth. Attackers rarely break in using pure technical force anymore. Instead, they exploit us. They exploit human flaws and mistakes. I mean, the most sophisticated Python script on Earth is totally useless if it can't get onto your machine, right? So hackers rely heavily on things like phishing emails with infected links or business email compromise, like disguising a malicious file as a totally normal vendor invoice. It's all social engineering to build trust, bypass your suspicion, and get you to unknowingly download unidentified software from unsecured sources.
But once they're inside, it is off to the races. An automated script executes at blistering speed. It generates an encryption key, traverses your system files, encrypts the data, uploads that key to the attacker's server, and then bam, displays the ransom note. It literally happens in seconds. Interestingly, it intentionally skips vital Windows files so your computer doesn't just crash entirely. Because, well, if it crashes, you can't read their note or pay them. Sneaky, right?
Let's zoom in on that encryption step for a second. We're usually talking about AES, or Advanced Encryption Standard. Think of it as a virtually unbreakable digital lock. It uses something called an initialization vector, or IV, kind of like a randomized label on a moving box.
Because of this IV, even if you encrypt the exact same data twice, the locked versions look completely, 100% different. It adds this massive layer of unpredictability that makes brute forcing the lock practically impossible without the exact key.
Moving to Section 4, spotting the stealthy invaders. If these things are so fast and so quiet, how can we possibly catch them before the damage is done?
Well, sometimes your computer actually tries to tell you something's wrong. There are physical warning signs, especially with the keylogger. You might see noticeably slow web browser performance, or this weird unexplained lag in your mouse movements. Maybe there's a huge delay between when you type and when the characters actually show up on screen. Or your cursor just randomly disappears. Because a keylogger is actively capturing every keystroke in real time, it's eating up your system resources. So if your machine suddenly starts struggling, don't just blame your internet connection. It could actually be the footprint of a stealthy invader.
Now, while we everyday users might notice a laggy mouse, security teams are looking at technical indicators of compromise. They're hunting for massive red flags, things like mass file renaming, suddenly seeing hundreds of files with a weird extension across your directories. Or they'll look for sudden CPU and memory spikes caused by those intensive encryption loops. They are also constantly scanning for unauthorized background processes, like those hidden Python executables running in stealth mode without any user interface at all.
And finally, Section 5, the Defender's Playbook. We know the tools, we know the signs. So how do we actually stop this stuff?
You probably heard the phrase, "for educational purposes only" before. Well, this functionally marks our shift to defense today. Why do ethical hackers study these incredibly dangerous tools? Because you honestly cannot build a strong wall if you don't understand exactly how the battering ram works. By analyzing the very Python scripts and hazmat modules we just talked about, security researchers learn exactly how to block them. So let's look at how we build a truly layered defense. It's all about pairing human vigilance with technical safeguards. For example, multi-factor authentication, or MFA. If a keylogger steals your password, MFA neutralizes the threat because the hacker still doesn't have your second factor to log in. Then you've got your task manager or activity monitor, crucial for detecting those hidden, resource-draining stealth processes. Routine system updates? Absolutely. Critical. They patch up the security gaps that malware relies on to traverse your system. And of course, antivirus and firewalls to intercept malicious scripts and block those outbound key uploads before they reach the attacker.
So, I want to leave you with this thought. By understanding the actual mechanics of these threats, you're no longer just a potential target. You are an empowered defender. Knowing exactly how a simple phishing email can lead to a downloaded script, which then uses an initialization vector to permanently lock your life's work, that gives you the context you need to stay safe. So, if modern cyber threats rely just as much on human error as they do on complex code, how can we use our understanding of the attacker's toolkit to engineer a more resilient digital future? Think about it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay secure out there and keep learning.